The explosive hook, the hidden code behind the Matrix. What if I told you that the Matrix isn't just a sci-fi blockbuster packed with cool effects and action scenes, but actually a disguised manual for spiritual awakening? A coded initiation guide that's been hiding in plain sight for over 2,000 years? And what if I revealed that Neo's entire journey follows step by step the exact same ancient principles that mystery schools have whispered about in secret for millennia? Because that's exactly what's happening. The Wachowskis didn't invent the Matrix out of thin air. They drew from a much older source, the Kybalion, a book that distills the 7 Hermetic Principles, laws of the universe that explain mind, vibration, polarity, rhythm, and the cycles that govern all of reality. Neo's arc, whether you've realized it or not, is mapped directly onto these timeless teachings. Each turning point in the movie is more than entertainment. It's a spiritual initiation disguised as cinema. Now pause for a moment and consider this. What if Neo isn't just a character on a screen? What if Neo is really you? This is your first call to action. Don't just watch passively. Engage fully, because as we decode the film together, you'll see that it isn't only about Hollywood. It's about how your own life can be rewritten at its very core. The red pill, so iconic, isn't simply a sci-fi drug. It represents the conscious decision to question reality itself, to look beneath appearances and discover the hidden code that runs everything. The machines aren't just evil robots enslaving humanity. They are the perfect metaphor for belief systems and cultural programming, the invisible machinery of thought and habit that keeps us trapped in predictable loops. Zion isn't just a city buried underground. It's a state of elevated awareness, a reminder that something deeper and truer exists beyond the mind's programming. And Neo? Neo isn't some distant chosen one. He's a mirror being held up to you. He represents the ordinary person who feels that something is off but can't quite name it. He embodies the whisper inside of you that says there's more to life than what you've been told. And here's the shocking truth. Just like Neo discovered, you've always had the power to transcend your limitations too. So get ready, because from this point forward, we're going to step together behind the curtain of consensus reality. And once you see what's really there, you'll never look at the Matrix or your own life the same way again. Principle 1. The prison. The program. At the beginning of The Matrix, Neo's life looks painfully ordinary. A cubicle job he despises, sleepless nights, pills to numb his exhaustion, and the constant sense that something is fundamentally wrong. He feels trapped, suffocated, and quietly dying inside his own routine. Sound familiar? Because Neo's struggle is not unique. It's the story of millions of people right now, maybe even yours. Hermeticism calls this the principle of mentalism. The all is mind. The universe is mental. In other words, the prison isn't physical, it's mental. Neo isn't shackled by bars or chains. He's trapped inside a collective mental construct. And here's the part most people miss. Morpheus doesn't save Neo. Neo saves himself by choosing to question the system. The red pill is not magic, it's a decision. It symbolizes the moment you stop accepting reality as it's presented to you and start daring to ask, is this really true? The Oracle foreshadows. This when the young boy bends a spoon with his mind and says, there is no spoon. It isn't a party trick. It's a revelation. Hermeticists have known for centuries that reality doesn't bend to matter. It bends to consciousness. The spoon only exists as long as your mind insists it does. Neo's first breakthrough isn't physical strength. It's the mental shift of realizing that what he thought was solid is just code responding to belief. Now, let me turn the mirror toward you. What's your spoon? What belief in your life feels unshakably real but is actually just a mental program? Maybe it's the story that you have to stay in a job that drains you, or that you'll never have enough money, or that love always ends in heartbreak. These are the programs running silently in the background, and until you confront them, they keep writing the same story for you, over and over. Pause here and ask yourself honestly, what is my personal matrix? Is it fear of failure? The belief that you're not good enough? The idea that life can't be different from what it's always been? Just as Neo had to recognize his prison, so do you. The truth is this: your mind created the walls around you, and only your mind can take them down. The moment Neo stops accepting the system as fixed reality, his awakening begins. And that's where yours begins too, not with external change, but with the radical decision to reclaim authorship of your thoughts. Because once you change the premise in your mind, the entire program of your life has no choice but to rewrite itself. Principle 2. As within, so without. There's a training scene in The Matrix that seems simple on the surface, but it contains one of the deepest spiritual truths ever filmed. Neo gets hit, bleeds, and Morpheus says the line that changes everything. Your mind makes it real. That single phrase unlocks the second Hermetic principle, correspondence. You've probably heard it before in its ancient form. As above, so below. As within, so without. What happens inside of you automatically projects outside of you. Your inner world is not separate from your outer world. It's the blueprint that shapes it. Watch Neo's progression closely. In the beginning, his doubt is overwhelming, and his failures reflect that doubt. He bleeds in a simulation because he believes he can be hurt. He loses fights because he carries hesitation inside. But as his inner confidence grows, something remarkable happens. His outer performance transforms. He goes from fumbling student to unstoppable warrior. That isn't movie magic. That's the Hermetic Law of Correspondence in action. Think about your own life for a moment. If your finances feel constantly stuck, look within. What do you truly believe about money? Do you secretly think you don't deserve abundance? Do you carry guilt around wealth? If your relationships always end in heartbreak, look inward. How do you treat yourself when nobody's watching? What unspoken beliefs are you carrying about love? If you're constantly overlooked at work, ask yourself, how often do you overlook your own potential? The outer world never lies. It's a mirror. It reflects back to you what's happening at the core of your identity. This is why positive thinking alone doesn't work. You can repeat affirmations all day, but if deep down you still see yourself as powerless, unworthy, or unlucky, reality will reflect that hidden script. Neo didn't just chant, "I can fly." He became the kind of person for whom flying was inevitable. His inner transformation rewrote the physics of the simulation. So here's your challenge. Instead of fighting with the external circumstances of your life, go inward. Ask, what must I become on the inside for my outer world to change? If you want love, become love. If you want abundance, cultivate abundance consciousness. If you want freedom, embody freedom within your daily thoughts and habits. Neo's story reminds us, The external world bends not to wishful thinking, but to deep inner identity. And once that inner shift happens, the outside has no choice but to follow. Principle 3. Why Agent Smith multiplies when you resist him. One of the strangest and most overlooked details in the Matrix is the way Agent Smith multiplies endlessly. Why does he replicate like a virus every time Neo resists him? The answer isn't random. It's hermetic. It's the principle of vibration, which teaches that everything in the universe is in constant motion, vibrating at specific frequencies. Fear vibrates, anger vibrates, love vibrates, freedom vibrates. And here's the key. Whatever frequency you engage with is the one you amplify. Smith represents low vibrational energy, fear, control, rage, limitation. And Neo's early instinct is to run from him, to resist him, to fight him with desperation. But what happens? Smith multiplies. The harder Neo tries to escape, the stronger and more numerous Smith becomes. This isn't just science fiction. It's a visual representation of a truth you already know. What you resist persists. The more emotional energy you pour into avoiding something, the more power it gains in your life. Think about it. The more you run from financial problems, the bigger they seem to grow. The more you try to avoid conflict, the more conflict finds you. The more you bury fear, the more it haunts your mind. This is vibration in action. Resistance is still engagement. It locks you onto the frequency of the very thing you're trying to escape. But watch what happens when Neo finally shifts strategy. He stops running. He stops reacting. He looks Smith directly in the eye, and in that moment something profound occurs. Neo rises above Smith's frequency entirely. He doesn't just fight harder. He transcends. He operates at a level that Smith literally cannot touch. Neo doesn't win by destroying Smith. He wins by vibrating higher than him. Now let's bring this to you. Who or what is your personal Agent Smith? The toxic boss? The never-ending debt? The inner critic you can't silence? Running from it only makes it multiply. Fighting it with the same energy only fuels it. The only real solution is elevation, raising your vibration to a level where the problem cannot exist. Here's a practice. The next time you feel resistance rising, pause. Breathe deeply. Name the emotion without judgment. Then choose a higher frequency. Gratitude, clarity, love, creativity. Act from that space. Watch how the problem begins to dissolve. Not because it's magically gone, but because you're no longer feeding it with your energy. Neo teaches us that darkness can't be defeated on its own terms. The light doesn't fight the dark, it simply shines and darkness disappears. The same is true for you. Stop running, stop resisting. Raise your frequency and the Smiths in your life will lose their power. Principle 4. Why Neo had to die to be reborn. Most people watch The Matrix and assume that Trinity's kiss magically brought Neo back to life. But that's not what really happened. Neo's resurrection isn't a fairy tale. It's Hermetic law in action. The principle of polarity teaches that everything has its opposite, and those opposites are simply two ends of the same spectrum. Hot and cold, light and dark, fear and courage, death and life. They aren't separate. They are degrees of the same truth. Neo had to experience total death, the flatline, the complete surrender of his old self, in order to access total life. He didn't escape polarity. He passed through it. He became something greater, not by avoiding death, but by embracing it and transcending it. The moment he opens his eyes again, he no longer just sees the world. He sees the code behind the world. His vision shifts from surface reality to the deeper structure that creates reality itself. This is the hidden key to transformation. Real breakthroughs rarely happen in your comfort zone. They come at the edge of despair, at the moment when everything feels lost. The relationship that shatters, the career that collapses, the identity that falls apart. These deaths are not the end. They are doorways. The greater the death, the greater the rebirth waiting on the other side. Ask yourself, what part of your life feels dead right now? A dream you've abandoned? A version of yourself you no longer recognize? A path that feels blocked at every turn? According to Hermetic wisdom, that exact place is where your greatest power is hiding. Just as Neo had to die as Mr. Anderson to be reborn as the One, you may have to let an old identity fall away so your true self can emerge. Here's the truth. The ego fears endings, but the soul thrives on transformation. Neo's story shows us that surrendering to the death of who you thought you were is the only way to discover who you really are. Sometimes you have to let go completely before you can rise completely. Now I want to hear from you. If you could let one limiting belief die today so you could be reborn stronger tomorrow, which one would it be? Share your answer in the comments. Your reflection might inspire someone else to take that leap too. Principle 5. How Neo broke the laws of time. One of the most jaw-dropping scenes in The Matrix is when Neo stops bullets in mid-air. Audiences remember it for the special effects, but few realize it's actually a visual teaching of the fifth Hermetic principle, rhythm. This principle states that everything in the universe has cycles, tides, and pendulum swings. Emotions, seasons, money, relationships, even time itself. Nothing moves in a straight line. Rhythm is the pulse of reality. When Neo slows the bullets, he isn't flexing brute force. He's stepping outside the default rhythm of linear time. Notice how throughout the film, he experiments with tempo, moving faster than agents, dodging in slow motion, and eventually transcending the flow of events altogether. Neo learns not to fight rhythm but to master it. By shifting into a higher frequency of awareness, he operates from timing that includes and surpasses the ordinary. Think about your life. How many times have you felt like everything hit you at once? Bad news, setbacks, bills piling up, as if life had its own pendulum swinging against you? That's rhythm. But rhythm isn't here to punish you. It's here to be understood. When you learn to work with it instead of against it, life starts to feel like surfing a wave instead of being crushed by it. Successful people, whether they know it or not, ride rhythm. They sense when to act and when to wait, when to push and when to rest. Investors read market cycles. Athletes peak in season. Even your body has rhythms, energy highs and lows, focus cycles, creative bursts. If you ignore them, you burn out. If you align with them, you tap into flow. Neo's ability to stop bullets is symbolic of this mastery. He doesn't destroy rhythm, he dances with it. He flows so perfectly that what once looked like chaos becomes effortless. The world slows down, choices appear, and impossibility turns into inevitability. Here's your practice. Start tracking your own rhythms. When do you feel most energized, most creative, most connected? Align your most important actions with those windows instead of forcing them in your lows. Rhythm is nature's secret timing device. It's always working. The question is whether you'll be its unconscious victim or its conscious master. Now I want to hear from you. If you could master just one rhythm in your life, whether it's your emotions, your energy, or even your money, what would you choose and why? Share it in the comments below. You might inspire someone else to finally catch their own wave. Principle 6. Are you the author or just an effect? There's a scene in The Matrix that cuts deeper than most people realize. Morpheus tells Neo, most people are not ready to be unplugged. Many of them are so inert, so hopelessly dependent on the system, that they will fight to protect it. Why would anyone defend their own prison? The answer lies in the 6th Hermetic principle, cause and effect. Most people live their entire lives on the effect side of reality. They react to circumstances, obey habits, and run scripts installed by culture, family, and fear. They think they're choosing freely, but in truth, they're just reacting to external causes they don't control. In the film, the humans trapped in pods are not just physically asleep, they're mentally programmed, living lives as effects of someone else's cause. Neo begins to awaken the moment he flips the script. He stops waiting for permission, for prophecy, for someone else to declare him the one. He realizes he doesn't need external validation. He can choose to become cause instead of effect. That's the real moment of transformation. When you stop saying, "Why is this happening to me?" and start asking, "How am I creating this, and what can I learn from it?" In your life, every time you complain about circumstances, you're what? Handing away your authorship. Every time you say, "I can't because," you're cementing yourself as effect. But when you take responsibility, not blame but responsibility, you move into the role of creator. Suddenly, external laws bend. Reality rearranges. You become the writer instead of the character. This doesn't mean life becomes easy or that nothing unexpected happens. Even Neo still faced agents, bullets, and betrayal. But once he chose to live as cause, every challenge became material he could shape, rather than punishment he had to endure. The difference is enormous. Victims ask, "Why me?" Authors declare, "Watch me." Here's a practical shift. Replace victim language with creator language. Swap "this ruined my day" for "I chose to react this way." Replace "I can't afford this" with "How can I create the resources for this?" These micro shifts accumulate into macro transformation. Neo didn't bend reality because he was chosen. He bent reality because he chose to. And so can you. Now I want to hear from you. In what area of your life do you most often feel like an effect instead of a cause? And what's one way you could flip that starting today? Leave your answer in the comments. You may surprise yourself just by writing it down. Principle 7. The balance of forces. There's a secret woven through the matrix that most people miss because they're too focused on the action. The truth is, Neo doesn't become the one through strength alone. He becomes the one through balance. This is the 7th Hermetic principle, gender. And no, it has nothing to do with biological sex. In Hermetic philosophy, gender means the interplay of two universal forces: the masculine principle of focused will, direction, and action, and the feminine principle of intuition, receptivity, and flow. In the beginning, Neo is almost all masculine energy. He tries to force outcomes, fight harder, push his way through every obstacle. But brute force only takes him so far. His real transformation begins when he learns to balance his drive with inner listening, intuition, and flow. That's where Trinity comes in. She's not just his love interest. She represents his inner feminine wisdom. Neo's relationship with her is symbolic of his own integration. Watch the final battles carefully. Neo doesn't just calculate strategies or muscle his way through impossible odds. He moves effortlessly, almost like a dance, combining precision with surrender, will with flow. He feels when to act and when to allow. That balance unlocks power far beyond what force alone could achieve. And here's the thing. This isn't just Neo's story. It's yours too. Most of us live lopsided. We either overdevelop the masculine, setting goals, grinding endlessly, burning out, or we overdevelop the feminine, flowing without direction, drifting without results. Awakening requires both, fully integrated. Will without wisdom burns you out. Wisdom without will leaves you stuck. But together, they create unstoppable momentum. Ask yourself, where are you imbalanced right now? Are you pushing so hard that you ignore your intuition? Or are you waiting for signs and flow, but never actually taking decisive action? Neo only became the one when he stopped choosing one side and started embodying both. This is the invitation. Plan and listen, act and receive, push and allow. It's in the union of these principles that true mastery is born. Now I want to hear from you. Do you tend to lean more toward forceful action or intuitive flow? And what would your life look like if you finally balanced the two? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. The Matrix within the Matrix. Here's a truth that slips past most viewers. The Matrix isn't just about one prison. There are layers upon layers of illusion, and even those who think they're awake are often still trapped. The film shows this brilliantly. Neo wakes up from the pods, but does that mean he's free? Not entirely. Even Morpheus, the one who guided him, still carries limiting beliefs. Remember when he says, "No one has ever survived a fall from that height"? Yet Neo does exactly that. Morpheus was awakened compared to the average person, but still, bound by a subtler matrix of belief. This reveals something profound. Awakening isn't a single event. It's a process. It's not taking one red pill once and calling it done. It's a lifelong peeling back of deeper and deeper layers of programming. The matrix within the matrix is everywhere. It's in the cultural myths you still buy into. It's in the fears you inherited from family. It's in the spiritual ego that convinces you you're beyond it all, while quietly keeping you trapped. Think about your own life. Maybe you broke free from the belief that you need society's approval, but you still feel chained to the idea that you need money to feel secure. Maybe you transcended the idea that love is painful, but you're still trapped in the illusion that you're unworthy of lasting connection. Each breakthrough is real, but each also reveals another layer underneath. This is why The Matrix resonates so deeply. It's not just a film about Neo's awakening. It's a mirror for yours. The red pill isn't a one-time choice. It's a daily practice. Every time you question an assumption, every time you refuse to accept a fear as truth, every time you choose awareness over autopilot, you're taking another red pill. Even the so-called real world in the film hints at still being another simulation. That's not a mistake. It's a message. No matter how awake you feel, there's always another veil to lift. The question is not, am I awake? but where am I still asleep? So let me ask you, what's one belief, pattern, or truth in your life that you once thought was freedom, but now suspect might just be another matrix? Share it in the comments, because your insight might help someone else recognize the prison they didn't even know they were in. The Oracle's wisdom, becoming the One. One of the most misunderstood scenes in The Matrix is Neo's first encounter with the Oracle. She looks him in the eye and says, "You're not the one." For years, fans argued. Was she lying, testing him, playing some deeper game? The Hermetic answer is much simpler. She was telling him the truth, at least in that moment. Neo wasn't the one yet. Why? Because he was still waiting for someone outside of himself to confirm it. And that's the trap most of us fall into. We wait for validation from teachers, bosses, lovers, society, even spiritual gurus. We think someone else has to declare our worth before we can claim it. But the Oracle's rejection wasn't punishment, it was liberation. By denying him the label, she forced Neo to stop seeking authority outside himself and start claiming it from within. The real turning point comes later, not when Neo proves he's the one, but when he stops trying to prove it at all. He saves Morpheus not because he believes he's special, but because he chooses love, courage, and truth in that moment. That act of authenticity is what unlocks his real power. And here's the secret the movie is whispering to you. No one can tell you if you're the one in your own life. The Oracle, the mentors, the teachers, they can guide, but they can't crown you. Awakening isn't about being chosen, it's about choosing yourself. So now the red pill is in your hands. You've heard the hidden Hermetic code. You've seen how Neo's path mirrors your own. The only question left is, will you keep living asleep in your matrix? Or will you step forward and claim authorship of your reality? If this message resonates with you, don't just close the video and move on. Hit like, leave a comment with your biggest insight, and most importantly, subscribe so you don't miss the next chapter in decoding the truths hidden in plain sight. Together, we're building a community of people who refuse to accept the program and choose to rewrite it. Because at the end of the day, the Oracle's wisdom still rings true. No one can tell you who you are. You have to decide it yourself. And when you finally do, you'll realize something unforgettable. You were the one all along.